Okay, so the next concept we need to talk about is what do we mean by a dependency? I regularly get invited to dependency management meetings, and the first thing I ask is, what are we talking about dependencies? Are we talking about people dependencies? You know, those key workers. We use the word resource here on this slide. It's a bit of a swear word, isn't it, to refer to people in certain agile circles. Is it task dependencies? Is it just knowledge dependencies? You know, key people that you're dependent on. Now, there's a paper there that I've got a link to, and I'll include these slides afterwards. And it's Strode and Huff, and they wrote a document which was called the Taxonomy of Agile Software Project Dependencies. It's a really fascinating read, actually, because it really helped me to come up with a vocabulary in which I can hold better conversations around dependencies and what we really mean by dependencies. You know, you can start to then look at, you know, your requirements dependencies. You know, you've got your known unknowns, your unknown unknowns. You know, is it expertise? Is it your kind of task allocation? Who's working on what on a Kanban board, for example? So again, it's a really useful document to go and kind of do a bit of research on that. But that's outside of the scope of what we're talking about today, but it's very, very useful. Now, the next concept we want to talk about is this idea of teams. What do we mean by teams? So, and actually, a lot of the dependencies come from poor organizational design, or maybe just evolving organizational design. And what I mean by design is like how, you know, what is the purpose of each team? So in this example here, I've got a feature team. They're a cross-functional feature team. Yeah, it's very scrummy. They've got a scrum master, they've got a product owner, they've got developers, service reliability engineer. So we're getting into the whole DevOps space there. We've got testers. And what we find is they still have dependencies on other teams. Now I'm going to kind of position these as maybe component teams. The types of components we're talking about is maybe there's some firmware teams, a mainframe team, Microsoft Dynamics, SAP, maybe there's an API team in there as well. And this is actually a true reflection of a client I was working with last year. Okay, so let's get back to this. Now, not only do they have component teams, so these component teams are specialists. Okay, they you would very rarely have a cross-functional team as part of these teams. You know, they're very specialist skills. They're big, normally platform-related type teams. We also then have shared service teams. So maybe there's a legal team. You know, as work comes across the board, if you need to get legal sign-off internally before you can make a release, maybe there's some terms and conditions on a website. could be a whole bunch of different things where you need. It's a dependency. It's something you're then, you know, waiting for another team to service your request. Maybe there's some user experience or user research groups that are basically maybe sat in marketing, going out there engaging with your end users. But again, they may not have enough work to be embedded within your cross-functional feature team. Business intelligence, again, they often have their own set of internal customers that they're servicing, building reports, loading data, you know, managing data lakes, all this kind of good stuff. IT operations, again, they're really busy keeping the lights on and really focusing on that side of things. And there's also other feature teams, and you know, that you could become dependent on as well. Now, if we were to take the kind of agile principle of create cross-functional teams, well, imagine taking all of these people and merging them all into here. We'd have one monstrous team, and it could be quite difficult to keep everybody busy. And also, what about the teams over here who basically now have got less people because they're servicing their own demand from their own internal customers? So again, it doesn't always make sense to create cross-functional teams. You know, we talk a lot in the agile space about breaking dependencies. You know, don't manage dependencies, break them. Well, it's not always possible or easy or quick enough to actually break a dependency. So sometimes we have to manage it. Okay. So that's a kind of quick overview of what we mean by teams and the relationships between teams and the purpose of teams. Now then.